to We Chat Live, and authentic conversations among women. We cannot wait to engage you tonight. So get ready to share, create a watch party as we get ready to embark on a journey with 14 amazing women. I want you to stand to your feet, begin to drop those hearts and hand claps as we announce our hosts for this evening's We Chat Live, the amazing, incomparable First Lady Desiree Eastland.
Thank you so much. Welcome, ladies, to our first We Chat Live. So excited to be with you on today. And I hope that you are inviting friends to join us so you can hear from some dynamic women who are in our community and making a difference. So as we prepare and get ready for today, I just want to share something with you. As many of you know, March is Women's History Month. It was mandated by a proclamation by the president, and this month is set aside every year during the month of March to honor and recognize women's contributions in American history. But here at Hope Church Pearland, we want to recognize women in our community, women who are making a difference, women who are on the move, women who have gone back to school, women, despite the circumstances that life may have thrown at them, they are continuing to press forward. If you're excited about hearing from those ladies, just give a hand clap and send some thumbs ups and hearts. Ladies, I also want to remind you, the reason these women continue to move forward and press forward is because they are a part of a great legacy, a dynamic legacy of women who have gone before them, women who have gone before us, women of faith, and just women who are making a difference in the community. I want to share some of those women who are authors, women who are judges, women who are warriors, women who are ministers, women who are grandmothers, aunts, and women who are just making a difference and impacting, friends and poets. These are dynamic women. Elizabeth Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Alice Paul, Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem, Indira Gandhi, Golda Meir, Margaret Thatcher, Barbara Jordan, Eleanor Roosevelt, Ada Lovelace, Marie Curie, Madam C.J. Walker, Margaret Mead, Jane Goodall. Then we have some other dynamic women as well. Florence Nightingale, Dorothy Dix, Clara Barton, Elizabeth Blackwell, Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett. Many of us know her right now because of the COVID vaccine that's out there. Frances Willard, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Mary Church Terrell, Ida B. Wells, Rosa Parks, Harriet Martineau, Jane Austen, Emily Dickinson, Toni Morrison, and Alice Walker. And those are just to name a few of the great and dynamic women that have made and impacted our lives. So tonight, I want you to join me as we welcome the women who are here and part of the Hope Nation and just making a difference. So let's get ready as I introduce you to these ladies. Lou Gould, a woman who is firm in her faith and testimony as a Christian. Before anything else, Mrs. Gould believes that her faith shapes her roles as a wife, mother, grandmother, aunt, sister friend, and the reluctant matriarch of her family. Send some hearts and hand claps for her. Amaya Henry, a first-year student at Howard University who believes that everyone has a unique walk that is assigned to them, and you should always focus on walking your walk. Hearts and thumbs up for Amaya Henry. Lois Jackson, a coach, encourager, and leader who has taken her experiences and significant challenges and developed a practice that would uplift and navigate persons to living a fulfilled life. Hearts and thumbs up for Lois Jackson. Joylyn Keaton, she's a first-year student at Howard University, but in actuality, she's already a junior at Howard University. She's going to tell us a little bit about that later. She's focusing on journalism with a minor in Spanish. Joylyn believes that there is more ahead and pressing that's necessary to become great. We're excited about Theria Malone, who goes as Theria, a nurturer who inspires others to understand who they are and their God-given value. Thumbs and hearts up for these ladies. Linda Triplett, a woman of high moral standards who believes in leaving a lasting impression and a lasting legacy through care and compassion. Linda Triplett. Join me by sending some hearts and clapping hands. All right, ladies, I want to welcome you to our first WeChat Live. And as I'm welcoming them to the WeChat Live, ladies out there who are on Facebook and who are on YouTube, I'm going to give you an opportunity to invite those friends in your circle of influence to join us right now at this time. All right, that should have given you enough time to invite those friends. All right, so we're going to get started. So excited to have you ladies here with us on today. Don't they look beautiful? And I'm so excited to hear their stories. These are women on the move, and you can tell we have a diverse group of women here. And I'm so excited to hear what they want to share with us and what they have to share with us. So I'm going to just start, and whoever wants to go for, well, actually, let me say this. Let me start to my right. Is that okay, everybody? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start over here on my right-hand side. And anyone in this group to my right-hand side, you can take this question. What woman in history influenced you?
All right. The woman in history that influenced me most was my great-grandmother. She was a member of this church. You guys may know her as Aideen Sims.
Yes.
But she was my first teacher. She came down here to help raise me and my siblings, and she taught me love and compassion and patience. So she's definitely the woman who's influenced me most.
Awesome. Miss Sims, we do remember her. She was a great woman, so kind and generous, and always just had a wonderful smile for everyone. That's awesome. Theria, who was the woman who influenced you?
Wow. There were a lot of women, but I decided to go with somebody that was in my 20s or 30s, somewhere around there. And her name is Lisa Williamson, but she's more famously known as Sister Soldier.
All right.
And I just loved her name. I fell in love with her name, but she was a rapper, she was a songwriter, she was an activist. And one of the things that I liked about her was that she was very involved in her community, and she was very involved in politics as a political commentator. Well, a couple of things that I liked about her was that she encouraged women to just be bold in the way that they spoke and be bold in the way that they carried themselves. And she also said that be aware of the consequences that you may face depending on what you say, what words come out of your mouth.
Yes.
And then the one that I really loved was how she talked about love. Let there be love in everything that you do. Love in your work, love in your friendship, love in your relationships. Know that love helps to build, and love makes the world go round.
Awesome, awesome. So Sister Soldier, awesome. So, Miss Triplett.
I thought about a lot of different women, but Maya Angelou has always inspired me. She was a poet, a storyteller, teacher, civil rights activist, and she was always in the forefront for women and to benefit and help them. And you know, she has lots of quotes that we all hear lots of times. But the main thing is I think that the thing that inspired me, I guess, is that she always had an exceptional love of the language, of the English language. But the thing that maybe some people don't know is when she was a young girl, she didn't speak or she didn't talk for 5 years. Mm-hmm. But when she did start talking, you know what happened with that. So I really do admire her. And one of her quotes that I really like is, people may not remember what you say. People might not remember what you do, but people will always remember how you made them feel.
Awesome, awesome. And that goes right into your being so compassionate with others and where you're walking on your journey right now. So thank you, ladies. So right now, let us hear from the ladies on this side. We're going to start with Ms. Lois Jackson. Welcome, Ms. Jackson, and we'll start with you. Who was a woman in history that influenced you?
Well, I didn't really have one particular woman that influenced me. It was a type of woman. It was the type of woman that was known for being first at so many things, or a woman who fought past her own battles and fought to bring others along with her, behind her, you know, like Madam C.J. Walker,
Yes.
Harriet Tubman, also I think of Barbara Jordan.
Yes.
You know, I was so impressed with her manner of speaking. The first time I heard her speak, I believe I was on the campus of University of Houston, and she came to give us a talk, and as she handled hecklers, because there were hecklers, but she handled them. Wow. And I said, wow, to be able to speak like that, and to also know that she had her own personal battles, but she came through them victoriously until the end. So that was the type of woman that influenced me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Henry.
I would also say Maya Angelou influenced me. She was the first black female that I knew about in history besides Harriet Tubman. And in third grade, I played her in the Wax Museum, and since Maya, I kind of identified with her, especially since we were both in creative spaces. And now, ever since then, anytime I see her work or get more information about her, it's more so sticks to me because of that early on interaction. And also just the fact that she had so many occupations and skills, it shows like the limitlessness of things that women can do.
Awesome, awesome. Ladies, I definitely thank all these women for being here, and I haven't forgotten you, Miss Lou Gould, but I just want to take time out right now to give some extra thumbs up and hearts for our young ladies here, Joylyn Keaton and Amaya Henry. Aren't they amazing? Yes. Miss Lou Gould.
Well, thank you. There are a lot of, really admirable black women in history, but my absolute favorite is the Black Mother, starting from slavery, the kind of life and indignities that the Black Mother suffered was kind of horrendous. But my take always was, through it all, she kept her dream for her children, even when she didn't know where they were and they were taken. And I think that that spirit lives in most black mothers now, because they put all their hopes and all their dreams in their children. And for me personally, my mother wasn't very educated, but she had the vision for a better life for me. And I think in many ways, the black race is where it is because of the sacrifices and the vision and perseverance of the Black mother. And though I'm not a natural mother, that is still my favorite person.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, as you said that when you mentioned the Black mother and how perseverance and just resilience, I was thinking about how have any challenges that you've experienced, how have you pushed through? You'll probably say because of the Black mother.
Well, I need to be more specific.
All right.
For me, it's because of a lady named Miss T.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the nickname of my mother. And my mother, at 11 years old, was working. And she was a salad girl at a boarding house in Auburn University. And I think that my first job, I was 19. But even growing up, I knew that my mother had had an amazing and hard life. But yet I knew that a lot of her hopes and dreams was in me. And a lot of that I didn't realize, sadly, ladies, until my mother had died, that the true influence that she had on almost everything that I do in life. And she would be surprised if she heard me. Because I didn't always act that grateful.
Oh, well, now you are honoring your mother, and we just thank God for her being an example for you. And that has, I believe, as I look at what you've accomplished in your life, Ms. Gould, that is one of the things that has kept you pushing and moving forward, because you understood that this wasn't always available for everyone else. And I'm going to make sure that I do my best where I am right now and not take this place where I am for granted.
You're a mind reader.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Amen. Well, I also want to ask you, all the ladies on this side with Ms. Lou Gould, I want to ask you that how were you able to overcome any challenges in your life as you pursued your goals? Like what things did you do? What did you have certain not goals, but just certain check marks in place to help you say, hey, you got to get back in line so that you can continue with the goals?
As a child, I didn't have a lot of concrete visions about how the world could be. But when I looked around, I knew that what I saw as a life wasn't what I wanted. And I was an avid reader, and I had like a very full imaginary life. And I was able to want and desire more because of much of my reading, that I wanted something different from what I saw.
So reading opened up the world to you. Awesome. Ms. Henry?
One challenge that I experienced most of my life is timidity. And I felt like it blocked a lot of opportunities and experiences of things that I desired so much, but I always had different worries and fears of what others would think. So really just taking chances and ignoring those inner thoughts and just seeing the outcomes of when I follow my true heart and passion is what really helped me like overcome. And those were like the check marks, just taking those different chances and opportunities.
Awesome, awesome. And Miss Jackson, oh, go on, Ms. Gould.
I want to know how old she is.
I'm 19.
19 and so wise. Miss Jackson, I know part of your repertoire or your toolbox, because you're helping other women achieve their goals. Can you share some things that you use in order to push through the challenges you may encounter?
Well, one of the challenges that I have overcome is being diagnosed with clinical depression. That came many, many years ago, I guess when I was in my 20s. And so I would always have to fight through that dark feeling, that feeling of just giving up, not wanting to go forward, not even believing that I deserved to go forward. And so I learned how, believe it or not, then to trust in God.
Yes.
I was raised in the church. My parents were always there. My father was an evangelist and pastor. My mother, of course, was over the choir and all that. So I grew up knowing about the church, but I did not know about a relationship with God. So in my 20s was when that depression made itself known in my life. And so I had to find ways to fight through that. And I started out by reading the Bible. You know, as I said, I'd heard Bible verses all my life. It wasn't that I was in a foreign land. I mean, I knew about it. But the relationship, that's what made the difference. And to this day, you know, when it still would try to come in and overtake me, I go back to that foundation that told me that God's promises are real and that he never leaves you, he will never forsake you, and that you can always count and lean on him. And so that's how I've overcome that.
Awesome, awesome. And then leaning and trusting God and knowing that God will never leave you nor forsake you. And as you go out and share with other women, are there other things that you share with them as well? Because what if they're not as receptive to hearing that?
Then what I do is start relating some of the things that I've come through. You know, a lot of times people feel like when they look at you, they see one image. They have no idea what your real story is.
Right.
And so when you start to recount some of those instances where you thought, you know, you were down for the count, and then you tried praying, you tried fasting, you tried talking to others, you know, but what really worked when you get right down to it, and I help them understand that through just listening for those common things that I can tell are tripping them up.
Right.
And then I give them little examples and then ask them some questions. Because, you know, as a coach, I realize that everyone is creative, they are resourceful, you know, and they are well able to do what they need to do. It's inside them. So I help them try to bring some of those things out that are inside them. We already have what we need. God placed it in us when he made us.
Right.
Sometimes we don't understand what those things are. So sometimes having somebody to just ask a couple of questions will help you come to your own solutions.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So ladies who are out there watching us on Facebook and YouTube, make sure you send some hearts and thumbs up right now if something's resonating with you. And also, if you have a question, make sure you type in that chat box your question so that we can get your question answered. Now, I'm going to turn over here because I said earlier, Joy Lynn, she's really her first year at Howard University, but really she's a junior. So I want you to explain that so people won't think I've kind of misspoke.
Okay, back in 8th grade, I knew that I needed to be ahead. And I've always been ahead in school, but I knew that I needed to take this into my own hands. So I decided to go into a different high school then.
Wait a minute, stop right there. You knew you needed to take it into your own hands.
Yes.
In 8th grade. Wow. Okay, that's thumbs up right there and hearts and a big clap right there. 8th grade, she knew that. Okay, keep going.
So I decided to go to a different high school than the one my sister went to. I went to sort of a magnet school that allowed me to focus on graduating with my associate's degree when I was a senior in high school, and this past June I did. And so now I am a junior at Howard University.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? That is wonderful. That is wonderful. And how are you liking that experience? Because you are a first-year student, but it's also the pandemic. How are you navigating this process?
I've definitely had to learn to love it, but once you put yourself out there, as college would make you do, I've learned to enjoy it. I've learned to come out of my shell, reach out for help when I need it, and get a lot of new friends. So it's worth it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. So, Miss Theory, I want to ask you right now. I know you have had many, I'm going to say, many phases of your career in your vocation. So, just explain to us right now where you are and how you got to this stage.
Wow, that's a good question. I always say that I am retired working. I'm a registered nurse by profession, and I work with corporate America for about 25 years. I worked for a big company called Blue Cross Blue Shield, and one day that relationship ended, and I had been in management, middle manager, and so when that relationship ended, I said, well, you know, I want to go back to the grassroots of nursing, dealing with patients, taking care of people, but not too far back, like working in the hospital. And I had remembered that there was one point in time I worked as a school nurse earlier when I first came out of nursing school. And so I was fortunate enough to get connected with a school district here in the Houston area. And so I became a school nurse through this retirement process, and I can say that that was quite a surprise to me that I'm still doing it, especially in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
But I just know that God prepared me to be here at this time and place, and gosh, I'm just amazed that I'm still going through my profession at this time.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad. I know you are a blessing to those at your school and just also in your community that you're in right now. So thank you for continuing to be in that field and continuing to be a blessing. And then I want to go over to Miss Triplett. I know that you have transitioned from your corporate America job, and now you are doing something else. So just kind of tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you got there.
Well, I think that I've been blessed. God has blessed me, and I think He intended for me to pass those blessings on to other people. He continues to put people in my life that can learn or gain from my past experiences, be it, grief share or just getting new friendships. And that's something that I feel really good about, and I've done that now over the years, and I think it's a blessing, and it helps other people as well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, ladies, I want to thank you all for sharing, but I have one more thing that I would like for you to do. We have these two young ladies here, Maya Henry and Joylyn Keaton, and if you could just share one thing with them, what would that be? And what I'll do is I'll start with Theria, and then you, Miss Triplett, and then we'll go over here to my left.
Well, I'm going to say the one thing and what's really priority in my life is that you take time to include prayer. Mm-hmm. And in that prayer time, take time to be alone with yourself, but also open yourself to be available to hear the voice of God, and recognize His voice, and know that sometimes He just wants you to be quiet. I don't know if you've seen the movie The War Room, where Mother Clara went into her closet. If you can carve out a prayer closet for yourself, or a special place to where you can just go, get on your knees, and just commune with God, He will speak to you. And all those desires of your heart, all those hard things that you're working for, He's going to be right there with you. And He's going to let you know through some of the trials and tribulations that you go through that He is there. And that's one thing that I look back at. Anything that I thought that I failed at, I didn't fail at it. That's when God was with me most. And so just keep Him in your heart and know that He loves you.
Thank you. Miss Triplett?
Absolutely, keep God first in your life, but also be intentional about the people that you have in your life as well. Surround yourself with people who love you for being you, not for what they want in their own lives. And also, if you can, at the end of each day, just stop and think, what made me laugh today? What made me smile? Did I help somebody else? So live your life. It's for you, and be happy about what you do.
Awesome.
Oh, and one other thing. I have a little saying, like, what's the spark plug in your life? What is that thing that gets you going? Find something that you're passionate about and go for it.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. So find that spark plug, be you, and make sure you keep prayer in your life. Ladies, I'm going to come over here to Miss Jackson. If you could share with Amaya and also Joylyn, what would you tell them?
First of all, I would say you are enough.
Ooh.
You're enough of whatever you fill that blank in with. You're pretty enough. You're smart enough. You are kind enough. You are old enough. You're young enough. Whatever that is for you, just know you are enough, and don't let anybody tell you any different. That's one thing. The other thing I would say is treat yourself well so that others will know how to treat you.
Awesome. Ms. Gould?
observing them on the stage tonight and listening to how they conduct themselves and how thoughtful they are in terms of our answers, I almost feel like they need to give me advice, because when I was their age, there was no way I could sit up here and do what they did and as thoughtful as they've done it. But having said that, my advice is a lot like Lois, is that I think it's important at any age to know who you are and do not let the world tell you who you are. And it's on the same order of you are enough, because what the world tells us is that we're not enough, but know that you're enough. And from personal experience, the other thing I would really advise you not to do, because I haven't succeeded myself yet, but don't worry. When I think of all the things that I worried about, I mean, hardly any of them have happened. And the ones that did, the impact on me was nothing, and I wasted a lot of time in life. But the most important thing is to know who you are and stand flat-footed in this world. Don't let the world define you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I know we have a question from our audience, so if you could let us know what that question is, please.
Question number 1. During this time of a heightened awareness on social injustice as a Black woman, how have you all been able to affect change within your social circles?
I'll start a little bit. And I represent a generation that's kind of different. I represent a generation that didn't have many of the freedoms we now have. I grew up where I drank from a colored water fountain. And so growing up, there were things that the community, my mother put inside of me, that wherever I was, I could stand on my own. And so a lot of what I've done in life is, in terms of being in an environment with other people, is to do what I can to educate them. And back in the day, people were more interested in knowing about us. But the most important thing I think we can do is to do what we can do, and for us to be competent Black people when we go into the world. And that's probably the biggest impact I can make, is my being the competent person. And there are some people who are designed to go out and change the whole world, but for me, it's in making the world that I'm in better, and my being the ambassador. Because one of the things I've struggled with as a Black woman of the 60s, we were kind of angry. And so that angry Black woman thing isn't really a myth. We were very angry in the 60s. And when I find myself as an individual going there now, I realize as a Christian that that is not the energy I'm supposed to bring in the world. So for me, when the world is a mess, I try to bring my peace with me. And that's my contribution and what I can control.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Joy Lynn.
During this time, I've definitely taken the initiative to educate myself. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood and predominantly white institutions, schools, and that was great. I thank my parents for that. However, I just needed to educate myself and learn more, and I was lucky enough to have an in-person graduation. It was around the time of George Floyd, and I was able to introduce the national anthem. And on that day, I kneeled on stage, and it inspired a lot of people in the audience as well to do so.
Awesome, awesome. You made a difference. Anyone else?
Well, I'm going to say I grew up in a military family, and so I met people from many different races, different cultures. And one of the things that I learned through the process is that even though I was surrounded by Black people, I learned later outside of my family what people really thought about the Black culture. And so for me, that's one of my references to Sister Soldier, and why I learned to be independent. I learned to speak my voice. And one of the things, going through nursing school, there was like maybe one of me in every class that I went through. And you were always looked upon or judged differently. And so one of the ways was to build the culture gap was to learn, as Joylene said, learn about your surroundings, learn about your people, read about what's going on, and you develop relationships with people.
Yes.
But one of the things is just be true to yourself and don't let negative remarks that you get from those other people deny you your place in this world, because there is a seat at the table for all of us.
Yes, yes, there is a seat at the table for all of us. And I can't wait to hear, we will have Jay Collier up in our next segment, and I want to hear your response to that question, Ms. Collier. So get ready. All right, I think we have one more question.
How would you like to see the church, not just Hope, protect and uplift women? What responsibility does the church have in striving for equality?
I find that question kind of interesting, because in my mind, with the exception probably of the pulpit, black women are running most black churches that I'm familiar with. And I'm not sure I would say there's a lot of inequality, because we're the spark plugs kind of behind everything. At this church, and even a lot of traditional churches I go to in Third Ward and other places, is that we're not always up front, but we're running things. We really are, financially and other ways. That's my take on it. But obviously the person that asked that question doesn't feel that way, so.
Right. I would hope that you would be a part of a church where they value women. We've all been made in the image of God, so we do have value. And then also at the same time, make sure that you go to the committee or whomever is in charge and provide opportunities for women to grow and to develop themselves, and share where they are and what they're doing. Because what I do know is that sometimes we have vast knowledge out there in the pews, that women who are out there movers and shakers, and we don't know it until we communicate. So start communicating with those women who you come in contact with, who are sitting in the pews, asking them, how are you? What are you doing? And, just ask the question, how are you making a difference? And then you will be surprised to see how many women are out there making a difference. And it doesn't have to be like in corporate America. It could just be in their families, in their homes. But they have a respect, and they have leadership capabilities, so that they can move forward in the progression of women. Women, I can say here at Hope Church Pearland, now y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but women are valued at Hope Church Pearland. If you believe that, let's just give a hand clap on that one. Yes. And also, we have to understand that women, they were in the Bible. So start learning about those women. I'm just speaking from the church perspective. If you think that women have no part in the church, go back to your Bible. And take a look and start reading. There are some women in the Bible, there are quite a few, who were part of Jesus's inner circle. So we've been there, and we are still here. And like Ms. Gould said, some of us might not be out in front, some of us are behind the scenes, but no matter where we are, we're all important. And if we love God and walk with God, we will value that. Any other questions? I'm sorry. Go on. Anybody else?
I want to say that, we as women, we have to also understand that there always was a stigma that we have to break down the barriers of, and know that just because our grandmothers, our aunts operated a certain way in the church, that we have evolved from that. And as First Lady Desiree said, here at Hope Church, one of the things that I have seen, and I'm a longtime member, is how we have brought in women who were in leadership roles, women who led us, women who pulled us out, women who challenged us to take that next step. So we have to ourselves not let that label or that stigma be on us about how we as women are supposed to move about in the church.
Right.
Speaking of biblical characters, one of my favorite is Lydia in the Bible. She was a businesswoman, and they call her the businesswoman of purple cloth. But God had her have an encounter with Paul, and through that encounter with Paul, she was able to hear the message of the good news of the church. And through that good news, what helped her continue on as a businesswoman was that she was able to get her whole household baptized because she believed in the Word of God. And so through that encounter, she was able to open up her home and bring in others and just continue to spread the gospel and the good news through that. So yes, we have biblical sisters, biblical brothers that we have reference to, that we can look to and know that in the past that happened, and again, it's still happening. So women are leaders in the church, women are part of the church, and we are really the backbone.
All right. So right now at this time, we're going to make a transition. So if you could just give a hand clap, thumbs up, hearts for this group that has been engaging with us at this time. And as we transition, you will hear some music playing, but also it's still your time to go out and invite those in your circle of influence to be a part of WeChat Live.
She knows, but I've drawn the conclusion it's all an illusion. Confusion's the name of the game, a misconception, a mass deception. Something's gotta change. Don't be offended, this is all my opinion. Ain't nothing that I'm saying, Lord. This is a true confession of a life learned lesson I was sent here to share with y'all. So get in where you fit and go on and shine. Clear your mind. Now's the time, put your salt on the shelf, go on and love yourself, cause everything's gonna be alright. Not the average girl from your video, and I ain't built like a supermodel, but I learned to love myself unconditionally, because I am a queen. Not the average girl from your video, my worth is not determined by the price of my clothes. No matter what I'm wearing, I will always be in the and your expensive minks, I don't need that to have a good time. Keep your expensive car and your caviar. All I need is my guitar. Keep your crystal and your pistol. I'd rather have a pretty piece of crystal. Don't need your silicone, I prefer my own. What God gave me is just fine. Oh, I'm the average girl from the video, and I ain't built like a supermodel, but I learned to love myself unconditionally. Because I am a queen, I'm not the average girl from your video. My worth is not determined by the price of my clothes. No matter what I'm wearing, I will always be. She's just a girl and she's on fire.
Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my steps, and the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as can be, and to a man the fellows stand or fall down to their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say it's the fire in my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist, and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they still can't see. I say it's the arch of my back, the sun in my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk too loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say it's the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me.
All right, let's give another hearts and thumbs up for Amaya Henry. Yes, ladies, so excited for this next group to come up and share with us on our first WeChat Live. So once again, make sure you send those hearts and thumbs up. We are here with you. And if you have questions, make sure you send them in so that we can answer them, during the conversation. So the first person that I'd like to bring up is Janice Brown. Janice Brown is a creative educator who teaches with passion and was inspired to pursue education by observing the growth of a pack of radish seeds. And she'll explain a little bit more about that now and where she is. Gloria Burton, an humble and quiet leader who chooses to use her experiences to support the communities she serves. Gloria believes in the power of family and communal connections. Jay Collier, she's driven by her desire to create an unbelievable legacy for her children. With over 14 years of experience in litigation, Ms. Collier is a firm believer that anything is possible to those who use what they have. Remember, ladies, send those hearts and thumbs up. Lieutenant Trina Kingsbury. She's a woman pushing past the odds, creating new trends, and resetting the bar each day. Lieutenant Kingsbury will complete her master's in criminal justice this fall. Send some hearts and thumbs up. Femi Russell. She has a definite testimony. A creative super talent who has won several awards for being an incredible educator. Femi's true joy is being a mom. Thumbs up and hand claps. Shawnee Smothers. She is a thinker, researcher, and creator who has a unique passion for social media and communication in digital spaces. So ladies, join me as we welcome these ladies to this segment of our Women on the Move. Send those hearts and thumbs up. I want to remind you, make sure you invite those persons in your circle of influence to join us at this time. And don't forget, if you have a question, please make sure you type it in the chat box, and we will definitely get to your question. So as we get ready, I just want to say welcome to you all, and thank you so much for patiently waiting as we listened to the ladies before you. They were dynamic as well, so help me hand clap for them as well. And now we're going to hear from you. So I'm going to start over here on my right, and I will start with the lieutenant. Lieutenant Kingsbury, I want to find out, tell me, What was it like becoming a lieutenant? What's your story?
It's a long story. I've been with the sheriff's office for 28 years, and I failed getting hired on at the sheriff's office, and I kept trying, and I failed taking a test as a sergeant. I took the test to be a lieutenant 5 times, and it's every other year, so that was 10 years before I actually got promoted to lieutenant. So it's been a hard road, but I didn't quit.
All right. She persevered. So thank you so much. And then also, I know you have some other things, that certificates, initials behind your name as well. And I know you applied for that and you got it right off the bat, right? Tell us about that. I believe it's the FBI.
Yes, so the FBI National Academy is world recognized, and you have to be a lieutenant for, I think, 2 or 3 years before you actually can get accepted into the academy. And I wasn't even a lieutenant a year, and I got accepted, and yes.
Awesome. So with that, who influenced you? Who was your influence as you kept pushing and persevering and just being resilient in that whole process?
So the person that I look up to the most is my mom. She's passed on, and when I didn't find out that my mom was an accountant, a nurse, a cosmetologist. She had 15 jobs, and I did not realize that until she passed, but my goal is to impress her.
Awesome. Well, she left an impact on your life,
she did.
and you are continuing to press on and persevere. So we thank God for that. And so now let's hear from you, Femi Russell. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and also tell us who influenced you.
Well, I'm an art teacher. I've been in education for 7 years now. I used to teach ELA, but anybody who knows me knows I'm super artsy. All I do is paint and craft. And I was given a chance this summer to take the art exam, and I passed it. And I thought I was going to fail it because it was so hard, y'all. And so now I'm that fun, spunky Music Friday art teacher at my school, and I absolutely love it. And one person who has influenced me is also my mom. So my mom has a beautiful testimony. I don't want to put all her business out in the streets, but she's worked so hard. She started as like a secretary with the government and just kept working her way up, and she was an accountant, she's a CPA, and she was an investigator with the federal government. And if you ask her, she thinks she's super official, FBI. But she just instilled in me that, you know, if you put your mind to it with God, with perseverance, you can achieve your dreams. And so she's my person that I look up to. And I don't think she knows that. So if she sees this, Mom, you are my person.
Oh, isn't that awesome? Miss Russell, way to go. So, Femi, I want you to tell us a little bit about how you went into, you said you were an ELA, and then you went into art. How did that transition take place? Why did it take place?
Well, one motto that I love to live by is that your talent is God's gift to you, and what you do with your talent is your gift back to God. And so, actually, I'm gonna take it way back. I used to work at Enterprise Rental Car. It was the first job that I had out of college, and you had to have a college degree, and I absolutely hated it. Like, we would have to wear suits every day and wash cars in 90-degree weather in our suit, and I hated it. And so it's so funny because I was talking to my best friend. We just turned 35 last week, and we were talking about how we used to cry because we hated it so much. But I just kept asking God, like, what is my purpose? What's my passion? And my passion has always just been the arts, creativity.
Right.
And it just so happened that one of the art teachers was leaving this year.
So I asked my principal if she does leave, can I have that position? Most people have to interview. She said, Ms. Russell, if she's leaving, the job is yours because you are amazing. You would fit that position. Right. And it was like heaven sent. So I'm living in my purpose, and it's wonderful.
Awesome. Well, I want to say, I know you used to post on Facebook before you became the official art teacher. You used to post on Facebook how you would decorate your classroom, and it would just be beautiful and inviting and engaging. So that you were already exercising your passion then, yes. And then to get the official art teacher job. That's awesome. Awesome. The next person up is Shawnee Smothers. So Miss Smothers, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then also tell us who's influenced you on your journey.
Well, my name is Shawnee Smothers, and I started off actually in undergrad as a science major, a chemistry major, and I started failing. And so God was basically telling me then, this is not for you. And I had always been like a writer. I had always written poetry. I had always just loved to write. And so I needed to change my major. I wanted to change my major. I had already been a chemistry major for like 3 years at that point. And so I said, you know what, let me just change my major to journalism, to communications. You know, I'm a good writer. Let me just change my major to that. I had already been taking on stories with the college newspaper. And so I changed my major to journalism and to communications. And it was like the best thing I could have ever done in my life, because that truly was my calling, to do communications, to write, to do journalism. And I started, you know, I was an editor of the newspaper at one point, and I left Xavier, you know, with an internship at Black Enterprise magazine. I went to Germany that summer right after Xavier with a cultural exchange journalism internship, and I just left off and running. And I went to Georgetown after that for communications and got my master's degree, and I wrote about hip hop and how hip hop has changed how people act in society, and how listening to certain types of hip hop, how it makes you impact society in different ways. And so that's kind of how my journey led me to use my abilities to write. And, you know, the landscape has changed so much in journalism that things started to change and shift to social media. And so then over time, I started to become like an online journalist, and then an online communicator, and then slowly but surely I started to move into the social media and digital marketing spaces. And so now the last 10 years I was managing social media and digital marketing for $1 billion company. And now I'm starting my own consulting firm, and actually launched my website today for my own social media and digital marketing firm, consulting firm.
Wow, congratulations. Awesome.
And the person in history that, you know, my mom definitely influenced me as well. She was a single parent. She worked really hard to put all 3 of her daughters through school and in private school so that we could have a good education growing up in South Central LA. You know, public school, you know, was really, really not the place to be. And so she struggled to make sure that we could go to private school and get a really good education. So my mom truly did influence me, but she also made sure to make us learn our history and our Black history. And she taught me about Ida B. Wells. And so Ida B. Wells was one of the first Black women journalists that really, she was a civil rights activist. She was a women's suffrage activist. And actually, she was one of the first people before Rosa Parks that refused to give up her seat on a train car. And she wrote an article about it and sued the train company about it. And so Ida B. Wells truly influenced me, and I learned about her early on in my journalism and communications field. And she just has influenced me in so many ways, because she fought in a time when women weren't activists and they weren't fighters.
Right.
So, yep.
Thank you for sharing that. And so we love the mothers. Mothers are awesome, awesome. Well, I'm going to go over here to my left. Ladies, I have not forgotten about you because you as well are on the move and doing some great things. So I'm going to start with Miss Brown. Miss Brown, I want to know who influenced you, and then also how were you motivated to make your transition from, because you were an educator in the school system, but now you're an educator, but it's your own business. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, what I do now, I am so passionate for. I am a teacher at heart. I'm an educator at heart. I love teaching people anything. Anything that I know, I love sharing knowledge with others. And so it just, for me, it was a natural transition to continue in education, but in a different way. So most of you know that I'm passionate about growing things. Gardening is my thing. Most of the times when I go in places, other people may notice the other people there. I notice the plants. I notice a beautiful garden, and that's the way that I've always seen God the most, is through nature. I look at nature and I see the beautiful colors and the very specific things that each plant is able to do to survive in an environment. And I know that there has to be a God who created that. Right. It's no way we didn't create it, and it didn't just form on its own. So I truly, truly have a love for nature. And so, like you said, I was an educator before. I was a teacher and turned curriculum writer and turned professional developer. And it would seem odd that I would end up in a garden and that all of those things prepared me to do so, but they did. Because I was an educator and I'm used to dealing with young people, which I deal with quite a bit now, and it taught me how to work with young people and also how to educate anybody on any level. Right. And then curriculum writing, I'm continuing to write my own curriculum for a garden education academy. And so my curriculum background really prompted me for that. And then professional development, I do workshops quite a bit for different places, the Texas Home and Garden Show and other entities. So I'm used to doing workshops. That's what I do. You can wake me up at 3:33 in the morning, ask me to do a workshop. I'll throw one down, go back to sleep, never miss a beat. So that's kind of, where all of that comes from. But my journey into opening my business was similar to some of the other ladies on the panel. I worked for the district, and I was in the main office at that time, and they started downsizing, and they kept downsizing. And our department, which was almost 200 at one point, eventually got down to 8. And so I was cut in that round where it got down to 8. And so there was something in me that would not allow me to continue to look for a job in the district. Every time I tried, it was something in my spirit that would not let me. And I realized it was because I've always had an entrepreneur spirit. Since I was a child, I kind of liked going against the grain, and business always fascinated me, but I understood education, so that's why I went there. And so I saw this as an opportunity to be free and to do something that I've always wanted to do. So I decided, okay, God, He had told me several years before, you're not going to retire from the district, and eventually you'll go out on your own. Those were His words, and I didn't understand them. When He spoke those to me years ago, I said, and do what? And so I found my and do what. And I am so joyful to do what I'm doing and share that with others. And as for women who have inspired me, I know it's supposed to be one woman, but I have two. Actually, there's quite a few. Maya Angelou has been brought up before, but I love her because she was the first person to really teach me to be my own woman, not to be the pattern of someone else or what someone else is doing, but just be comfortable in yourself, in your spirit, who God made you to be. And so that really resonated with me when I saw her live one year. And another woman is a woman whose name I can't even remember. I met her one time, and she just spoke to my soul. This lady was almost 90 years old, and she knew how to fly a plane. Her husband had been a Tuskegee Airman, and so he barely got his license, being an African-American person, but women were not allowed to get their license. They weren't even allowed to learn how to fly, but she still learned how to fly. And at almost 90 years old, she was moving around. She was up and down off the floor. She was still cutting her own yard every week, she said. And so I just remember it was at a neighbor's party, and I sat at that woman's feet, and I just listened to her. I took in everything she said that day because she didn't let anybody else define her. And that's what I loved about her, and that has spoken to me and helped me with my journey.
Awesome. Yes, definitely, because you haven't let anybody define you in how you've transitioned from the district into your own business. I mean, you're setting your own goals and doing your own thing and defining what education can look like through Girl on the Grow. So thank God for that, and thank God for your resilience and your tenacity in the process. So thank you for sharing. Ms. Burton, so glad to have you. You are, as we said earlier, a quiet leader. So just tell us a little bit about your journey. You are working as well as in school, just like Lieutenant Kingsbury over here. So just tell us about your journey and how, who's influenced you along the way.
Sure, thank you. First, I'm just really glad to have the opportunity. Like she says, I'm kind of quiet, but I'm excited about this. I was born a social worker, so I came out helping cousins, family, the community ever since I've been here. So that's been my journey for over the past 30 years that I am a social worker. But in that and in the company that I work with, as I was continuing to help people use social work, I do Medicare and Medicaid and things of that nature. I also started, volunteering for project leads, and would find myself, when we needed to motivate the team, would find myself the person motivating the team to get things done, to push through a lot of difficult projects and things of that nature. And I don't know, one day I just thought maybe it's something more. So for the past 5 years, I've actually been managing a team of about 20 nurses, and we work in nursing facilities. So we have about 200 nursing facilities in Texas. And that's what I've been doing for the past 6 years, and it's just been exciting. I realize that you could have your passion, but there's a lot of other gifts that may come out while you're doing one of your passions, so you can have more than one. And so I think leadership is my passion. Even in a quiet leadership way, it's still my passion. And being a Christian leader, I think has definitely been impactful in the professional world. My journey, everyone has kind of shared their mom, and I want to just say her name out loud. Mary Ann Collins, it was my mom's sister, and I think it was my first experience of seeing sisters have each other's back. So she was fortunate enough not to work, and my mom was always working. And so she was my confidant. She got me through those transformative years of boys, self-esteem, and etc., but a safe place. And again, I'm so honored to say her name because I don't know if she knew how much she impacted me, but she was at the kindergarten graduation, junior college, high school, and just always pushing me through. But she was also the person that I could be honest with, and so that person in your life, and you can imagine at 16 and 17 that you can share things with that you can't share with anybody, and it's a safe place. She's had the most impact on me, and even though she's not here, her impact still is influencing me today. So,
say her name one more time.
Mary Ann Collins, my Aunt Mary.
All right, awesome. Well, now we're to Miss J. Collier. And as I said earlier, she is a lawyer. She's had 14 years of litigation experience, and we're excited to hear from her. She has a lot of irons in the fire because she's creative, yet cerebral. She has she's just Jay Collier. But we want to hear from you, Jay, right now about what you do and who's influenced you. But I also want to make sure that I ask this question to you. So I want you to start off with this question, if you don't mind. The question that was asked earlier, in today's heightened awareness on social injustice, as a Black woman, how do you find yourself affecting change within your social circle? And there's a reason. Tell us all about you, and people will see why I'm asking you that question.
Okay, am I on? I'll weave it all together for you.
Okay.
Okay, so again, thank you for that lovely introduction. Thank you for inviting me here today. I feel honored to be among such esteemed other women of integrity and of perseverance. So let's see how I can weave it all together. So I am an attorney by training. I went to law school for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that it was important to my family. And I grew up in one of those families that each generation built on one another, and they wanted the next generation to strive for something greater, for something bigger. And that caught fire with me, and I thought it was important to be, one of the first attorneys in my immediate family. And so I went to law school, but I always was a creative, and I always, there were things that I loved to do, but I thought, well, I'll just do them as hobbies. And so that's what I tried to do, but as so many women have expressed today, and you always hear that when you're getting advice, people say, what would you do if you weren't getting paid to do it? And I have heard about, Femi decorating her classroom with her own money when nobody asked her to, taking the test multiple times when you didn't need it to make a living, but you were doing it because it was what you wanted, and gardening. These are things that no one was paying any of these women to do, but it was in their spirit. And I had that thing burning, and it was about diversity. It was about inclusion. It was about making the world a better place. I wanted to be an activist. I will never forget when I was an undergrad, I started working with the National Coalition Building Institute, and I got invited to be the speaker at the end of the MLK march. At the time, there was something going on in one of the school districts. Now, mind you, I'm like 19 at this point, or 18. I think I'm 18. And there were issues going on with one of the schools in the school district adjacent to my university. And they had fired all the Black teachers at once, so that they had almost gutted it. And they made the colossal mistake of letting me get a microphone at the end of the march. And I said everything I wanted to say about what I thought about that situation. And I remember to this day, because my dad was in the audience, and I saw his mouth drop open, and I said, if they won't open the door, we will kick it down. And I saw his face change, and I saw the fear on his face. And that's the thing that I want to say. If I don't say anything else up here today, if you are passionate and you're driven, other people will be scared for you because they don't have the dream. It's not their vision, and they want you to do well, and they're scared for you. Do not take on other people's fears. You can't do it. It will stifle your future. So, I'm sorry, I went off topic. So, right now, there is a lot of social unrest, and I had made the transition in my career in 2020 from just being an attorney that mentored young Black lawyers and young Hispanic lawyers and people trying to get into an industry that has very low minority representation to this day, very intentionally. There's a lot of obstacles. And I said, why am I just doing this for free in my free time? This is what I'm passionate about. This is an industry that's starting to open up. If this is what I care about, I need to be doing it all day, every day. And that's how I got into working with the hospital system in Houston, Texas, where I am the program manager for diversity and inclusion. And I cannot have asked for a better transition. With the law, it was important because justice is important, and having access to legal counsel is important for our lives, for everything from housing to property rights to just maintaining your freedom. It's important to have counsel. But now I'm in a space where the decisions are life or death. The way we are treated in the healthcare system determines not only the length of our life, but the quality of our life. And so I get to teach and train doctors and administrators and executives and nurses and all the people that make decisions that trickle down to who lives and who dies, who is believed and who's not believed in the healthcare system, who gets the life-saving care and who is disregarded. And so I'm just so excited to be working in this space. And what happened with George Floyd was an extreme tragedy, but it was one of those pivotal moments when everyone's attention, because we were stuck in the house with the pandemic, turned in unison to an injustice, and we were able to reach a critical mass of concern where changes really are being made now. There was an influx of money into my program and a lot of other diversity and inclusion programs, and we are not wasting, I've heard the saying before, never waste a good crisis. Okay, that was a crisis of the nation. We will not waste a drop of it. We will not waste a drop of his life. We will not waste a drop of the sacrifices made by any of the lives lost to violence in the United States. And so we're running with it, and we're full steam ahead. I take it as my personal mantle not to let the momentum slow down and not to let people forget, and so that's what I do.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Collier. Well said, and thank you for sharing what you do. I want you to take a look at each and every one of these ladies and see that whatever you're doing right now, that you can still move forward in your passion. You can make that leap. Just take the leap and do what brings you joy, and also make an impact in the community. Right now, I just want to find out, are there any questions from our community online, or yes?
How do you know when to turn your hobby into a hustle? What was it for you all that made you go forth in building wealth through your talents and gifts?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
My mic's still hot. Okay, y'all haven't turned me off yet. One thing I didn't mention is I did start over the last couple years a independent publishing company. And we published books by new diverse authors with diverse characters and perspectives because there was a gap in literature there for reading books that reflect us. And I was writing as a side hustle. We call them side hustles, I know, but I really wanted to spend more time with it. And so I think that decision can be made differently for everyone. I don't think don't get confused by the sort of Instagram influencers that say, quit your job, run out. Like, you don't have to do that. There can be a transition. You can utilize the funds coming in from your main 9 to 5 to start to be the seed money for your ventures and for your quote unquote hustles. I don't call them a hustle, but I know that's the terminology. And I think if you can't stop thinking about it, it's time to do something about it. That would be what I said. And then so many people up here have said, I kept doing it on the side. I couldn't stop thinking about it. God told me about it. I tried to tell him, shut up. Everyone has that story. Right. But if you can't stop thinking about it, then it's time to act on it. That would be my answer. Y'all might have a different.
Right.
Can I add to that?
Yes. And then also I want to hear from Femi Russell after you. Okay.
I just wanted to add to that too. Pray about it, because really God has a plan and a purpose. And, what I found in my journey was I kept putting it to the side, and God kept bringing people to me and kept telling me, nope, you're going to use this gift. Nope, you're going to use this talent. Nope, this person needs help. Nope, this person needs this, needs you to use this gift to do this. And so really, I had these gifts and these talents that I wasn't using. They were being dormant, and God just kept sending me people. And kept sending me people, and then people were offering to pay me, and then other people were offering to pay me, and then those people would tell their friends. And so really, it was something that I just kept putting on the back burner, and God said, no, really, you're gonna do this. And so last year in this pandemic, I got laid off from my job, and literally the clients kept coming. I hadn't marketed the business at all, and people just kept telling people word of mouth. Okay, I have a friend, they need a website. Okay, I have a friend, they need you to set up their social media and their digital marketing ads. And so really, if it's your passion and your purpose, God will have you walk into it, and you just can't let fear or anything take over you, because if it's your plan and your purpose, God will have you walk into it.
And I'm going to piggyback on both of them. If it's your passion and if it's your purpose, God will make a way. But I'm just going to have a simple answer. I just love to make things for people. And I was making so many things that I'm like, okay, I'm going to start charging for these things. And then so I started off small. I would do little letters for people. And then like Shawnee said, that went from word of mouth, and I'm sending stuff to Mississippi, I'm sending stuff to California, and then I'm like, girl, you need to just go ahead and make your Etsy. And then I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to get a lot of people. Y'all, I made my Etsy last fall, and when I tell you I did not have time to do anything over the break just because I had so many orders. So to answer that question, if it's something that you like to do and you're good at it, girl, make your money and turn it into a job. Make some money from it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, ladies. Thank you so much. And I want to ask the Burton and Lieutenant, I know you guys, you went back to school. What made you make that decision?
So, a whole lot. So, just like Shawnee said, I mean, if you sit down and you keep getting pushed and you keep going out of your lane, God is going to keep guiding you to go back and do what he told you to do. And I kept putting it off, and I kept putting it off. I graduated my undergrad in 2001. It is 2021. And I'm going back to school. It's because I have to show the people below me and the people that work with me, the women, that no matter what age you are, no matter where you are at work, no matter where you are in your life, if God tells you to do it, you better do it.
Thank you. Awesome. Miss Burton.
Hi. I would say like necessity kind of met opportunity. In my job, for me to go further, now I have this desire to go further and to do more. Having your MBA is like a basic requirement. So there was that as this desire to grow more professionally. And then when the opportunity came along, I simply just said yes. I said yes, I applied, I registered, and you know what? Initially, I didn't tell anyone. I had been telling people for 4 or 5 years, you know, I'm gonna go back to school, I'm gonna look at either getting my MBA or do this or do that. And one time our pastor did a Bible study talking about how you get this adrenaline by just speaking something. So you're like, I'm gonna go back to school, and you get that same feeling. It's like you went, but you didn't. But you get that same feeling. And so I was telling people. When the opportunity came, I didn't tell anyone. I said yes, applied, met with a counselor and a mentor, and within a couple of days, it was happening. I'm one class away from getting my MBA. I started last year, and then in the middle of COVID, I've been going through statistics and all of these things, but I've been asking for prayer. I have an awesome accountability partner and support system, but I did it. I said yes, and it was just between me and God, and stopped getting the adrenaline from I'm gonna go back to school, and went back to school, and so.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You guys are inspiration. All of you are an inspiration, and I'm just glad that you were able to come and share on today. Do we have any more questions from our audience, Facebook or YouTube?
We have several questions, but we're only going to ask one.
Oh, we have several questions, but they're only going to give us one.
We're going to give you one last question, and if we can have 2 to 3 ladies answer this. What is your favorite scripture? What is your favorite scripture?
All right, favorite scripture. Just give it to us quick, starting on my right.
Okay, so it was many years ago that I first ran into Esther. Yes, so Esther 4:14, when I was in Women's Leadership and Hope. I never heard of Esther, but so many times that we are afraid to ask God why, or we're stigmatized to say that that's wrong to ask God why or why me. And when I came across Esther, that's what I heard, for such a time as this. Every single time after I read that, every answer from God is for such a time as this.
I'm mad because she stole my scripture.
That's all right.
But I'm gonna just quickly say it's the same Esther 4:14, and a lot of people know that I had leukemia last year, and I am in remission, thank God. But one thing about Esther 4:14 is the question, why me? And then I say, well, why not me? Like, why not me for this moment so that I can show other people that, hey, you can do it. God has put this on your heart. God has given you the strength. Why not me? So sisters out there, if you ever come to a point where you're like, well, why is this happening? Why not you, girl? You got it.
And I want to say real quick, and I know we're running out of time, but Femi just got out of the hospital on yesterday, and she is here right now.
My favorite scripture is Isaiah 61, and it talks about beauty from ashes to beauty. And I've always thought of myself as the phoenix, and I feel like through different periods of my life, God burnt me down to ashes, but then he always rebuilt me back to beauty. And so wherever you are, wherever you're going, just know that God can always rebuild you back from the ashes.
Awesome. My favorite scripture is Galatians 6:2. Bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. I've always felt compelled to be someone who helped other people. And one thing through my business journey, I found that I am an encourager. Because I can tell other people, if I can do this, I know you can do this. So that scripture speaks to me, and my business is founded upon Isaiah 53:18-19. Behold, I am doing something new. And God sent someone to prophesy over me with those scriptures, and that was right before I found out that I had lost my job. And so he has definitely made streams on dry land for me with this business.
Awesome. Ms. Burton.
Coincidentally, Jeremiah 29:11, it's been my favorite scripture for over 20 years, and my reminder for the plans that God has for me are good, and they're for me to prosper. And so, simply put, that's my favorite.
My favorite is, be not weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. And I never called the name of my inspiration, but I want to call her name if I can. Yes. Grace Amaranthia Robinson's my grandmother. I love dearly. She taught me to be still, which you can tell from my personality is difficult for me, to be still and listen and learn to know the voice of God. And so when I feel weary, I hear God's voice, and I can hear her telling me she was not a woman of excuses. And so that scripture speaks to me about not giving up, not making excuses, but continuing to strive. So that's my favorite.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Right now, I just want you to join me in thanking these ladies for coming out on tonight and sharing with us. At this time, also send some thumbs up and some hearts to let us know that you are still out there. This is just the beginning of what we're going to be doing here with the Women's Empowerment Ministry. We want to spend time getting to know our ladies and to see how God is moving in their lives and how they are on the move. So right now at this time, if you will just join me and send up some hearts and stand on your feet for those who are in the sanctuary, and let us just give them a hand for what they've been through and how they're continuing to be successful. Also at this time, I would like for the other ladies, if you could just walk across and stand in the front right here. I want to remind you ladies out there who are watching, you are able to do all that God has called you to do. Don't let anyone or anything, don't let yourself stop you from being all that God has called you to be. Right now, know that you are chosen, that you are blessed, and that you are highly favored, and God has given you a purpose. If you believe that right now, just put a big hallelujah in the chat box and then a hand clap, and help me thank God for these women who have shown us the opportunities and the possibilities that God has for all of us. They are as young as 18 all the way up to a sweet age of 74, and we thank God for each and every one of them. Thank you for being with us. We want to thank the Hope Slam Ministry. We want to thank Minister Jammer Abba for being our producer. We also want to thank Miss Canette, who is our secret person on the camera back there and also on the computer giving us information. Also want to thank our live studio audience who is here. Thank you for coming out and supporting us on today. God bless you. Have a great evening, and we will see you on Sunday at 10 a.m. for worship. But before 10 a.m., rise early so you can catch us at seed time at 8 o'clock. God bless you. And remember, your best is yet to